Hello, I thought I'd go through all of the kit that I used for the Scottish National Trail. When I was researching the trip and what to take with me, I found it really difficult to find any information about what other people were using and what might actually be useful, apart from bits of ideas of things I had in my head from short trips I'd done. So I thought I'd just go through my kit, and I just weighed my bag, and it's 13 kilograms without water in it, but I'm imagining I was carrying probably about 14 or 15 kilograms a day for this walk. It's an 864-kilometre walk through Scotland from Kirkyetim in the Borders to Cape Wrath in the northwest of Scotland's mainland. An amazing walk, I'd highly recommend. But anyway, this is the bag I took with me. An Osprey backpack, which I absolutely love. It's quite an old one, but they've got newer, fancier ones since then. In the very top lid of my bag, I took a personal locator beacon with me. Basically, I was walking alone a lot of the time, and I wanted to have the security of knowing that I'd be able to get help if I needed to, if I broke an ankle or fell over or had some kind of crisis, I suppose. And so I've got this personal locator beacon, which I've had for a few years anyway, and so I took that with me, and it just gave me a lot more confidence when I was walking, knowing that I could get some help. Also, what have I got in here? Just some lip silk actually, and some little rubbish bags. So I used those for collecting up all my rubbish when I was cooking or anything, and taking it away with me. What else have I got in the lid here? I've got a waterproof map case and my maps. So there's quite a lot of maps that make up the Scottish National Trail, and so I posted them ahead to myself, knowing that I was going to stay in the odd campsite or with friends. So I'd post those ahead so I didn't have to carry the whole load with me. So waterproof map case and maps. Headtorch. I was walking in midsummer, so I didn't actually really need this at all. But I suppose if you need to go out in the middle of the night for a pee from your tent, quite handy. Sunglasses. I took a power bank with me for charging my phone while I was away, but also for using with my recording equipment, because I was recording bits of sound as I went. So I took a power bank which I was able to charge every now and again at friends' houses or the odd campsite or whatever. So that was really handy. Gloves and a hat. Didn't really come in handy at all because it was midsummer and the weather was amazing, but walking in Scotland, it was good to have it just in case. I think I used them a couple of times. And I've got a little pen knife here too. So inside my bag, got a down jacket in a waterproof bag. This was really handy on the odd occasion that it got a bit cold and wet, so being able to chuck this on when I got in the tent was really good. So keeping that dry was really important. Camping gas from our wee stove. In here I had all my food and drink related stuff. So I've got a water filter. I just got this one from Alpkit, and I used that a couple of times, just only a couple of times, when I was kind of up in the Highlands, drinking water directly from the stream. So I could filter water into my water bottle. This is the only water bottle I took with me. It fits down the back of my backpack and actually helps make it more comfortable. And it can carry like 2.5 litres. So I used that the entire time and filtered water into that if I needed to. Otherwise in here I've got a spork titanium one from Alpkit again, really useful bottle opener as well, and that's the only sort of cutlery I had with me. A thing of matches for the stove, and I decided quite early on when I was packing and planning that I would largely rely on these sort of fire pot or equivalent dry food packets. So those were like my evening meal, and quite a lot of them are quite high calorie as well, so 700, or you can get them up to nearly 1,000 calories per pack. Absolutely stuffed me full, really good. And for lunches I tended to just sort of have nuts and dried fruit. I'd pick up fruit as I was going as well, chocolate bars, stuff like that. Cheese and oat cakes was kind of the staple. Breakfasts, I started out eating those little porridge sachets, but I very quickly realised that I couldn't be bothered first thing in the morning to get the camping stove going. So I started having those cold, which was not very pleasant, but was okay. I got through that. And in the end, I just gave up and was just having fruit and nuts and dried fruit for breakfast, kind of on the go. Because I found that once I'd taken the tent down, I just wanted to get going. So that's what I ended up doing for breakfast. So a bag full of food stuff. As I said, I was doing some recording as I went, so I've got my Zoom recording mic and also some external mics, some fell clippy mics, a stereo pair which I used for my recording, so that came with me too. And what else? Got my waterproofs, so waterproof trousers and waterproof jacket. So these were always close to the top just in case I needed them. Walking in Scotland, the weather can be terrible, so I wanted to have both a good waterproof jacket and waterproof trousers, although I still ended up getting soaked through several times, but it was kind of mainly more my feet that were a problem. The jacket was great, and these waterproofs are kind of like high-waisted ones with straps over my shoulders, so that was really good. I'd recommend those. I had a travel towel for washing, so when I was camping I would just always wash in a stream or in a river. Very handy and really lightweight. My first aid kit and all my toiletries, so I ended up narrowing these down quite a lot in the end. So some natural deodorant, toothbrush, suncream, pretty crucial, and moisturiser, and then toothpaste. First aid kit was really handy, mostly for blister plasters, and a friend of mine gave me a foil blanket in case I got into trouble, or somebody else did that I met when I was walking. So that was kind of as a backup. And then the stuff that I found really useful, which I bought en route because I was having problems with my knees, and I ended up having to strap up my knees sort of in the first 5 days, and then that problem sorted itself out. I think just through walking my body got used to it and sort of fixed itself. But this sports tape was amazing. So I think it's just called, what's it called? Sport Tape X. And I was able to strap that around my knees just to give extra support. I think because I was carrying an extra 15 kilograms of weight every day, that is actually quite a lot more extra weight. And so that was fantastic. Highly recommend that. And then just a fairly basic first aid kit with paracetamol and loads of different types of bandages and some gloves, stuff for bleeding and breaks, and medication and accessories. Whatever that is. I think it's, oh yeah, like tweezers and a tick remover, which I added into this here. And what else have I got? One thing which was absolutely brilliant for this trip, and I think I'm going to take it for any long distance walk, whether that's just a day walk or longer, was using Diarrhea. So it's like rehydration electrolyte sachets, and while I was walking it was quite often 20 to 30 degrees. It was a really unseasonable summer in Scotland, and that was kind of a lifesaver. So anytime I stopped for water I would have one of these Diarrhea, and it instantly made me feel better because I was sweating loads carrying this bag, quite often in direct sun, and it made all the difference. So definitely recommend taking rehydration sachets with you. A dry bag of clothes, so I took spare clothes with me, but not very much, in order to keep the weight down. But I had quick drying tops, like a vest top and a long sleeve top. I had one extra spare long sleeve top. I had a buff, which was really useful, being able to use it obviously around my neck or also as a hat. I also used it to cover up my eyes when I was trying to sleep, So that was really good. What else? Had one fleece and 2 quick drying pairs of trousers. So I basically had one outfit and another outfit that I could change into in case I got soaking wet, but just only one fleece with me. In terms of underwear, I just had like 2 sports bras. I had one and then another one that I could wash. I had 3 pairs of pants, 1 to wash, 1 to wear and 1 to dry, and 2 pairs of socks, and I would just wash them when I could. So whenever I felt like my feet were really disgusting, I would wash my socks. I also discovered these before I went away. They're called piss off cloths. I got 2, both of different patterns, so I could tell which one was which. And one of them I used when I went for a wilderness pee, and it was just great to be able to like wipe away any drips. I've never used them before, but it made a huge difference to feeling like everything was a lot cleaner, and obviously quick drying. And you can clip them up and attach them to the outside of your bag, so you're not making anything else dirty. But I could also wash them in the stream whenever I passed somewhere that I needed to wash them. So I had one for that, and I had another one with a different pattern, so I could tell which was which I used as like a flannel, so I was able to have a wash in the stream. And I took a Lush soap bar. It was like a shampoo bar, which I used for washing all of my clothes, washing my hair, washing my body, and that was fantastic, and also not too harmful for the environment. My tent. This tent is a Hannah Hawk 2 tent, and it was absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's a geometric tent, and I got a Terra Nova Voyager footprint, which is the same shape and size as this tent, just in order to protect the bottom of the tent. So they were fantastic in downpour, in heavy rain, in very windy conditions. Inside the tent was always dry, and it dried really quickly. And it's a 2-man tent, and I decided to use that rather than a 1-man tent, because although it weighs more, it meant that I could actually put my bag inside, so that would always remain dry. And if anybody came and joined me for the walk, they could come and stay in the tent as well. So I had that. Alpkit Drift pillow, absolutely game changer to camping. Meant that I actually slept pretty well and had a comfy sleep. I've always just used my clothes and bundled them into one of these dry bags and slept on that, but having an actual comfy pillow was brilliant. So highly recommend that. So that's the tent. What else? I've got seriously thick Thermarest. It's about 10 centimeters thick and fitted the entire length of my tent. I'm quite tall, so I decided to go for a tall one, and you just inflate it there's a bag that comes with it that you use to inflate, and it doesn't take long. Maybe it takes like 3 minutes to get it in full of air. And again, fantastic sort of insulating properties from the coldness of the soil, the coldness of the earth. I've always got really cold when I'm camping, and this again is a game changer, so I would highly recommend that. Yeah, Thermarest Neoair is the one that I got, but you can get slightly smaller ones as well. And then my camping stove. So again, this is an Alpkit piece of kit. It's called a brew kit, and it's pretty great. Just absolutely loved it. Very easy to set up. Just fits on top of the gas here, and I didn't do any like proper cooking in it, so no frying onions or whatever, but it was always just for boiling water. It's really quick, like a couple of minutes, and you've got a cup of tea. So really good bit of kit. They do a lot smaller ones now, which I would maybe consider getting if I was going for a longer trip, just because it saves on weight. So that's another piece of kit that was really useful. And then I think that's it in that bit of my bag. I've got my cap. I decided to use one of these rather than a hat, because it just meant that I could have the top of my head free and tie my hair up for one, but also, yeah, it's just felt a lot less hot. So I used that pretty much every day, and it was great for dipping in the burn and then putting on my head to really cool me down. And then finally, it's just my sleeping bag. So I had a sheet, silk sheet sleeping bag. When it was really hot, I just lay in this, like slept in this, and had my sleeping bag nearby if I got cold in the night. So that was great, and also means that you're kind of keeping your sleeping bag clean as well. Many nights sleeping in a sleeping bag. When you've been on a hot sweaty walk a little day, it gets it a little bit minging. This is a 4-season Alpkit Skyhigh sleeping bag, and it was amazing. It was so good, really kept the warmth, and I also didn't overheat in it. As I said, I quite often sort of slept with it just off to the side, or like just a bit draped over me on the really hot nights, but it also kept me super cozy on the cool nights. So that's kind of the camping stuff. I also brought this little foam seat with me, which was great again for sitting on cold ground, on stones or whatever. It just was really useful as a bit of insulation if I was stopping for lunch, and also useful for putting it around my camping stove if it was really windy, just being able to hold that to protect it from the wind. Another really super lightweight bit of kit, which was really useful. And then just a couple more things. I had a couple of walking poles, and I've always been a little bit, I don't know, scathing of them, or thought, I'm not sure if they're actually that good, but they were fantastic. I think especially having this extra weight of the bag, 15 kilograms more weight, really helped on my knees going up and down hill. So that was really good. And so I'd recommend using those. Easy to strap to the bag if you're just needing to use one, or great having 2 of them for going downhill and also fording streams, just having those extra tripod support points. And then I saw quite a few trip reports on not wearing walking boots when you're doing these long distance trails because the extra weight. And I think it can be like 1.5 kilograms worth of weight or something like that in these boots, versus a walking shoe or a trainer which might be 500 grams. But I had a lot of problem with my knees and my feet. I started out wearing walking shoes and had a lot of pain in my knees and my feet, and decided after strapping up my knees and trying that for a few days, I was gonna get my walking boots sent down to where I was. So I did that and I swapped over, and pretty much instantly all my pain and all the discomfort disappeared. I think maybe it's partly to do with my knees. I've got like ongoing knee problems from when I was younger, but they're just so much more supportive. And while walking shoes were okay for like the first half of the walk of the Scottish National Trail, particularly the Cape Wrath Trail section, definitely I thought needed walking boots, because a lot of it's really uneven and there's big boulders to walk up and down, and you're constantly moving over on your ankles, and so having that extra support was totally crucial. So I would say walking boots over walking shoes, but that's just me. I think the only other thing I don't have here that was really useful, and that was because it was so hot, was just a really lightweight shawl or a scarf. And so I was able to put that around my shoulders if I was wearing a vest top and the sun was out, just to kind of stop myself from burning, but also fantastic for chucking in a cold stream and then wrapping around my shoulders or wrapping around my head just to really cool off. So I think that's about it. That's all I had with me. And when I was walking, I usually only had about 3 or 4 days worth of food at a time. I posted food along the route to myself, so it just meant that I really reduced down the amount of weight I had to carry. I think probably this amount of gas would have done me for the entire trip, so I'm not sure, where does it say? It's 230 grams or 8 ounces of gas, and I was expecting to go through a hell of a lot more, but because I was just using those food packets, those dried food packets, all I needed to do every day was maybe boil the kettle twice, and so that was more than enough to keep me going. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. I will detail all of the stuff in a big list of what I've got with me, to make it easier to see. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And yeah, I'd highly recommend long distance walking. I absolutely loved it. Even the really rainy days I found quite amusing and enjoyable, because I knew I was going to be able to get dry because I had all this really good kit. A lot of it is possible to pick up really cheap or second hand. So yeah, I just say go for it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers. One thing I should have mentioned is that before I set out, I was thinking about being away for that amount of time. It was about 5 weeks in total, and when I realised how long it was and that I was going to potentially have 1 or 2 periods in that time, I almost considered not doing the walk. I have really heavy, quite long, quite painful periods, and ended up going to the doctors to get some medication to stop my periods during that time. However, I don't know if it was because of the process of walking or what. My period came early twice. So I had 2 periods while I was doing the National Trail. Both of them arrived before I was expecting. The tablets I'd been given, I should have taken them 3 days before my period started. I wasn't able to do that, so I just had to deal with it. And actually I was like very pleasantly surprised that my periods were a lot lighter, and I didn't have any pain. They lasted a lot shorter as well, so instead of usually 5 days of period, I had 3 days. I didn't have to go through nearly as many sanitary products. I think it must be something to do, for me anyway, in my body. It was the process of doing long distance walking every day. So I was walking sort of 30 kilometers every day, which must have reduced the cramping and the muscle pain because I was constantly moving, but also meant for some reason my periods were a lot lighter. So actually something I thought would have absolutely derailed this trip ended up not being a problem. Like, it was an inconvenience, but it really was something I was able to just get on with and deal with at the time. So I would say, if you're somebody who has periods, don't let that be a factor in dissuading you from doing something like this, because you might find that it's a lot less of a problem than normal. But also you can go to your doctors and get something to help. So yeah, I just wanted to add this in because it's something that was actually really important to me prior to going on the walk, and actually something I was really surprised at on the walk. So cheers.